Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be building a very fun app using the brand new ShazamKit and SwiftUI, where we're going to be able to detect the song that the user is listening to and be able to show some metadata about the app, such as the album artwork, the artist's name, and the name of the song. So without any further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is create up a new Xcode project in Xcode 13 and above. I'm using Xcode 13 beta 1. Stuff might change in the later betas or in the stable release, but it's pretty much going to be the same. So I'm going to create a new iOS app, and then I'm going to name it whatever I want. So I'm going to say ShazamKit SwiftUI, and make sure that we are using the interface as SwiftUI and the language set to Swift, of course. So we're going to click next, and then we're going to save it in a folder that we want. Alright, so before we start coding, we need to do one thing. So head over to your project and then copy the app bundle identifier. Now then head over to certificates, identifiers and profiles on developer.apple.com and then search for this bundle identifier that you just created. If you do not find it, click on this plus symbol and then register a new app ID. Select app and then paste in this bundle identifier. There we go. Now in this description can be anything that you want. I'm just going to say test app for SwiftUI ShazamKit. The most important thing is to head over to app services and click on ShazamKit. This will add in the ShazamKit entitlement for your file. Alright, so now let's create a new file inside of a project. Let's have it as a Swift file. Click next and name this file as content view model. We are following MVVM, which is the model view model architecture, which SwiftUI is based on. Now this class will be our view model, which means it's going to be the view's first source of truth. And it's also going to be handling most of the callbacks from the delegates. It's going to be handling the microphone turning on and off. It's going to handle every sort of thing. Our view is just going to be displaying whatever this content view model is asking it to do. So let's start by importing the three libraries that we're going to use today. First one is going to be SwiftUI, of course. The next one is going to be the brand new ShazamKit. And the last one is going to be AVKit for using the microphone. Create a new class called content view model. Inherit this class or conform this class to both NSObject and observable object. Now you might ask, why are we conforming to NSObject? We're conforming to NSObject because we're going to be using this class as an extension to conform to the Shazam's delegates, which means that you'll have to conform the parent class to NSObject. We're also using observable object because we want our SwiftUI view to be able to observe changes in this class using the published wrapper, so that this class can become my view's source of truth. Now before we do anything inside of the class, let's create a custom Shazam object that will hold our data that we can pass around from our views and back into our observable object. Above the class declaration, add in this new structure. The structure Shazam Media has title, subtitle, artist name, album art URL and genre. All of these have matching data types to the data types that Shazam's delegate is going to give me. This is done only for convenience purposes and to have our code in a more structured way. Alright, so now let's begin configuring the content view model class. Add in these two add published wrapping properties. So the first published property is called Shazam Media. So Shazam Media is an object of this custom struct that we have created here using some default values such as title, subtitle, artist name, album art and genre. This is so that we don't have to deal with optionals back in our view, and we always have something to display on our view even when we don't have a match for the song. The next property is recording, which is again marked with the published property wrapper, so that we know when the view or the state is recording and when the state is not recording. Next, add these three properties to your class. So audio engine is just a simple instance of AV audio engine that will be used to get our microphone's input. The next is session, which is of type SH session, which is again available only in iOS 15 and above. It is of type Shazam session, which is just a session object to configure our Shazam's request. The next is a signature generator, which is the SH signature generator instance, which is used to match our song against Shazam's collection of music. Shazam will not accept a song in its raw buffer. It will only accept an SH signature generator. So it is necessary for us to convert the raw buffer into a signature before we pass it on to Shazam servers. Now that we have our class properties ready, let's create the initializer for the class. In this initializer, we are overriding the init from NSObject. Because we are overriding the init, we have to use the keyword override init, and then we are calling super. Now inside of this init, we are setting the session, which is the SH session. We are setting its delegate to self. And let's create an extension. In this extension, I'm conforming content view model to SH session delegate. SH session delegate has two methods. which is one is for failure case and one is for success case. We're going to be using the one for success case now. We're going to be using the session did find match sh match. Now that we have this delegate callback, we can get back some properties. The media items is a property of sh match. So let's fetch that first. We're going to say let media items is match.media items. Now this media items can be an array of object because Shazam can match against multiple songs. But we just need the first one for this example. So we're just going to get the first item from media items. We're going to say if let first item is media items dot first. Inside of this, create a new instance of the custom Shazam media object that we created. Once we have created a custom Shazam media object from items from the first item, we can set that to our publish property using dispatch_main.async, since this is a UI update and UI updates always have to happen on the main thread. Now that we have configured the delegate, let's head back to the main class and let's create the microphone instances. In here, let's go step by step. The first thing we are doing in this guard block is we are checking if the audio engine is already running. We do not want it to be running. That is why the guard is checking if it's not running. If it's already running, we're going to turn that off, and then we're going to go to dispatch_main.async and we're going to set this publish property to false to indicate that currently we are not recording using the microphone. And then we're going to return. If all of that passes and else doesn't occur and then we come into the function, that is when we start configuring. The next we go to audio session. We create an audio session using av audio session.shared instance. In audio session, we request permission from the user. For this, we have to first head into our info.plist file from here, and then we have to add in a new key. Add in a new key for privacy. Microphone usage description. In this, you can put in any value, and the value I'm going to be please give me access to your microphone. This is going to be the identifier or the string that's going to be shown up when your app requests for permission from the user to use the microphone. So now once that's done, we can come back to our function and learn more about it. Then we're going to check if the permission is granted. If the permission is not granted, it's useless going into the function, so we can just return. Then we're going to create a new audio session, and then we're going to say set active and notify everybody else of deactivation. Then we're going to create this input node using the audio engine's input node. Then we're going to set the recording format, and I'm going to set the recording format to the input node. Once we have all of that set up, we're going to install a tap so that we can extract data from the input node. We're going to install a tap on the 0th buffer. We're going to set a buffer size of 1024, and we're going to pass in this recording format that we just created here. Inside of the closure, we get back buffer, which is of type AV audio PCM buffer, and when is a timestamp in AV audio time format. In all we're going to do is call sessions match streaming buffer method, and we're going to pass in this buffer at no time. We just don't want to pass the time parameter here. So what basically happens is whenever there is a new buffer that comes in, it passes into session, and the session goes and starts matching it against Shazam's database, and it takes in the buffer that's coming from the closure. If there's a match, it hits the delegate method, and from the delegate method we extract the data and we set it to a publish variable. After all of this is done, we prepare the audio engine, and in a do try catch, we start the audio engine. Assuming do try catch successfully succeeded, we're going to come down in here and we're going to set is recording to true on dispatch_main.async, because again, it's a publish property and it will update the UI, and all UI updates have to happen on the main thread. Next, let's head over to our view and start configuring it. This is how I want my view to look like. And for the view to look like this, I've designed it based on stacks. With that visual cue in mind, we're going to be building that out in code. Before all of that, let's create a state object that will be the instance of our content view model that we just created. Add a property called addStateObject to this struct. So it's going to be addStateObject private var content, or we're just going to say view model is equal to content view model. Since everything is going to be stacked on the Z stack, our primary view is going to be of type Z stack. So we're going to add a Z stack in here. Inside of the Z stack, add in this code, which is going to be async image URL, which is a brand new view that SwiftUI has provided this year. In this, we're going to be accessing the Shazam media object of the view model and we're going to get the album art URL from the Shazam media object. This async image will return us an image in the closure, and then we can apply view modifiers to this image, which I've done here. I also added an empty view in the placeholder so that we don't show anything when there is nothing identified. Now once we have the Z stack, as you can see back in this visual cue, we also have a V stack which has the album art, the artist name and the song name on top of the Z stack. So we have this primary V stack as you can see here. We have a space from the top and we have a space at the bottom right above the button so that the view stays centered, the V stack stays in the center. Inside this we are again calling async image, passing it the URL, getting the image and configuring it with 300 by 300 size. We're setting its corner radius to make it look pretty, and then we're going to set its view mode to fit. In the placeholder, we're just adding a rounded rectangle with a lower opacity purple fill. Next, we're creating a V stack that holds the data. So we are creating a V stack with text. We're creating a V stack that also has the artist's name. The font I'm setting into title, semi-bold, center. Similarly for this, I'm adding some configuration, and then I'm adding some padding so that it doesn't hit the edges. Again, as I mentioned, we have a spacer here, and then we create this button. We create this button using the brand new SwiftUI button style APIs. So we have these bordered buttons now, and we have large control sizes including higher control prominences, which create these beautiful blue color buttons again, but you can use any color that you want. I'm adding some shadow just for the fun of it, and the most important part in this button is calling this function on the view model. So remember how we created the start or end listening function in the content view model? That means anytime the button is tapped on, this function will be called. So this function, if the audio engine is already running, will turn it off. If it's not running, it'll turn it on and it'll do all of these things. Now, once we have all that, we are all done. We can start building and running our app. So I'm simulating my iPhone screen here. And as you can see, I've tapped on the button and there we go. We have a song detected. And I'm going to try out a new song. Again, it gets detected. It's super fun, it's super easy, and it's super interesting for you to try out this brand new ShazamKit framework inside of your iOS apps. So that's been it. Thank you so much for following along on this exciting tutorial, and I can't wait to see what you build up with the ShazamKit API. Anyway, that's been it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you soon in the next one.